Radio, ESPN2, Sirius XM Channel 80, your smart speakers.
Alan Yates, tough verses to start off the show. I like the mindset that you state for our first topic of the day, Alan Yates. All right.
Kyrie gave him the business. Kyrie returned to the Nets last night, dropped 22, but to me, more important was the way he looked. Look, not primetime Kyrie, but still doing things with that layup package of his that's like most people can't. And most importantly, a key contributor in an almost 20-point comeback in a win. That's on the road.
So have you guys been to museums before? You guys seen art, right?
Of course.
For me, a couple years ago, I got a chance to go to France and go to Paris and see the Louvre, and you see like abstract art sometimes. And there are times I stare at abstract art and I'm with, a professional. And a guy who's breaking down, telling me about Jackson Pollock and all these incredible abstract artists, right? Some of the most famous. And I'm staring at the art. I'm just in shock, in awe of it. And I feel like when I watch Kyrie, I'm looking at abstract art. Like it's hard for me to really talk you through the complexities of it to make you understand, to simplify it for you. But what I'm watching, what I'm seeing is something that's so spectacular.
Wait, hold on.
Just because it's...
Slow up 1 second. You're saying because of your deep knowledge of basketball, watching Kyrie, to try to explain it to just a basketball fan,
you can't.
It would take too long.
Like you love Charles Barkley because Charles Barkley can always simplify something for you, put it into layman's terms. I can't do that with Kyrie Irving. I can't. It's like paying attention to a grandmaster playing chess. Like you just can't put it into layman terms for people because there are levels to this. And obviously KD's on a different level, but just watching last night, imagine taking 7 months off from playing against professional athletes in your last NBA game where you roll your ankle, and then compound that with everything that we have going off the court, and then say, all right, for the next 2 months, you're not going to get a chance to train with professional athletes. You're going to work out and play flag football on the streets of New York and New Jersey and play against college kids, and then come back in your first NBA game and shoot 50% plus from the field and score 22 points and still feel rusty and not feel like you're even close to where you should be. That's Kyrie Irving.
Key, your impressions of Kyrie's return.
Well, look, what is it? 22 points, 10 in the fourth quarter, 3 steals. You could tell based on the course of the game, the feel of the game was coming back to him. Like Jay just said, you've been off 7 months. No matter what, it's like riding a bicycle for Kyrie Irving. Okay? He will never forget how to ride a bicycle, assuming he knows how to ride one. I'm sure he does, but it's like that. That's just who he is. It's professional athletes. It's muscle memory. Things aren't going to look smooth day one. By the time he get to his 5th, 6th, 7th game on the road, he'll look like box office Kyrie Irving. And for the most part, even for me, I was impressed. I still was like, dude, 9-17, man. What's the problem? He's only going to get better. If you think about some of the passes, the one particular pass in the middle of the lane that he decided to give to Kevin Durant decided to have a little turnaround right there. That was like, oh, okay. I see what this is, but you can certainly tell he is a professional basketball player and not an amateur.
Jay, when you say, like, that's what we're doing here, right, on the radio right now, is trying to express, when you're talking about basketball, your level of expertise. So even though it's like, I understand you got to take us to basketball 101 and start to build the whole thing to explain what you're seeing, right? But can you get into some of the things that are so difficult to explain that he does on the court? Can you at least in general terms explain it to people?
So he could change angles better than anybody in the league. And what I mean by that is, and a lot of times in basketball, they teach you about changing speed. So imagine if you're in a car and you're going 90 miles an hour, and then you stop and you go 20 miles an hour, and then you go 50 miles an hour, then you bring it back to 5 miles an hour. Trying to guard that, right? Trying to pace that other car. If you're next to me trying to pace that car, you have no idea what speed I'm going to go, right? So it's hard for you to adjust, to stop. His ability to do that defensively, if you're that pacing car, you're trying to guard me defensively. you can't stay with my speed because you have no idea what speed I'm going. I can hit speed so fast and change angles so fast with the ball on a yo-yo, with the best handle I've ever seen, with the ability to pass and shoot as crisp as he does. It's you have two of the most unguardable players on the planet on one team, and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And we're also talking about a guy in James Harden who is having somewhat of an off year.
Yeah.
Who you would put in that same bucket to a degree, Max.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you have him only for road games or not, that's one hell of a weapon to have in your arsenal when you need it.
You know what's interesting to me, too, guys? That Kyrie is the one who goes to Harden last year. All right, you take the ball, you run the point. And it's interesting because, I mean, he and LeBron kind of shared those responsibilities. But when Harden took over the point, remember they were trying to feel it out early last year, and they didn't play a whole lot together. But it allowed Kyrie it freed him up to do what he needed to do, I think, last year. And if they figure that out this year again, if it's just Harden controlling the point, and, that could help Harden and help Kyrie.
Well, I think it's apparent Kevin Durant's the most gifted scorer I've ever seen, but this is Kyrie Irving's team. It really is. And you can go back and you can, hypothesize about this. When LeBron James and Kyrie were on the same team in Cleveland, Max, I'll ask you, and Key, I'll ask you too. What are the odds you think LeBron James would have made that game-winning shot that Kyrie made against Golden State?
I think by then LeBron had shaken whatever those demons were, but I hear what you're saying. But it's
like in that moment,
Kyrie is a clutch player.
In that moment,
yeah.
Kyrie, you felt like the gravity all went towards Kyrie.
Yep.
And you still kind of feel that way. I'm not saying he would take the last shot with Kevin Durant on the floor, but you still feel like the ball would be in his hands to make that decision about if Kevin was going to make the last shot.
Well, it's interesting because Kyrie Irving said when he played with KD, this is the first dude who he's like, oh, it's okay, you can take. He meant as a scorer on offense. The first dude he ever played with where he's like, okay, he's even better than me, right? And he's just really being honest, and he's probably right. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, because this is what that same Kevin Durant had to say about Kyrie.
His game is just so beautiful. Makes the game so much easier for everybody out there. And it was amazing to see him out on the floor again. The crowd showed him so much love. Teammates, just the game of basketball is happy to have him back. He made the game so much more difficult for the Pacers. It's giving us a different attack, especially there in the fourth quarter, and keep building on this.
That's Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. So what is next for the Nets and Kyrie? The team plays 2 home games, so he's ineligible to play those games because he's not vaccinated, and it's indoors and in New York. Kyrie's next game will be Monday when the Nets play at Portland on the second end of a back-to-back after playing at home on Sunday afternoon. So that kind of helps them, right? They're playing the second of back-to-back. The second leg is on the road, and Kyrie will be fresh.
So they play against Milwaukee, which will be a big-time game at home, then San Antonio, which they should win that game, then at Portland, and then at Chicago. So at Portland, Dame should probably be back by then, considering off the injury that he has. And then at Chicago's number 1 team in the East. That's going to be a monster matchup game. And that's Lonzo Ball, one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, going against Kyrie. Look, I think it helps to have Kyrie in any capacity on your team, regardless of if you're having continuity issues or not.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay, let me ask you this because I don't know the answer to it. Can he attend the game even though he's not going to play like in New York to the Knicks? Can he be on the bench?
I don't think he's allowed in the building.
Okay. I didn't know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer to that offhand either.
Yeah,
I'm
because I know
so it's
because
like
I know
for me personally.
I've been to Brooklyn games before. Like they check your vaccination status. You have to get tested there for contact tracing. So I don't think they're letting unvaccinated people in to watch games.
Okay, all right. Regardless if he's on the team or not.
Yeah, but it is interesting, Key, to me that in a way, like, so what's the safest bet for sports bettors usually? Second of back-to-back NBA on the road. That team loses like whatever it is, 70% of the time. Now they're going to play second of back-to-back. At least the back half of that, the back leg of that is on the road across the country, like the farthest point. But Kyrie would be fresh. Everyone else is coming off a game, but he's going to have fresh legs for that game. That's a big advantage for the Nets, actually.
And Key, I'll ask you this: what do you think the odds are? Do you think this team will have a hiccup with Kyrie?
In terms of what? Like
Just in general, like, you know how we're obviously going to talk about AB today, and I'm not saying that Kyrie and AB, but something that you think is just be all smooth sailing from here on out?
But it hasn't been a hiccup. Like, what has been?
I agree. Yeah.
What has been the real problem with Kyrie outside of he has his own opinions, his own views? He hasn't disrupted the team internally. Obviously, things that he did externally affected the team internally, but it's not. We're not dealing with. This ain't the same. Yeah. Right?
But you know, Key, how some people will try to put him in that category. Like, it's always going to be something.
But they try to put me in the AB category. So, well, come on now.
Yeah, I hear you.
Seriously.
We're on the same page.
They try to align me as the same situation with AB. I'm like, how much weed y'all been smoking early in the morning?
Well, no, but
like,
let's be fair. To be objective, right? Kyrie on the Nets, you cannot say Kyrie's made the Nets better, right? But in the past, like with Boston and before he got KD and Harden there were times where it's like, how is this team no better with Kyrie on it? It doesn't make sense. That has not been the case
but Max,
with Harden.
That ain't what Jay was
KD.
talking about, though. We wasn't talking about Cleveland and Boston. We were talking about the Nets.
Yeah, I know I'm saying, but that when you talk about someone's reputation, that follows them. For example, we're going to get into AB in a little bit.
By the way, Max, what happened, Boston?
His reputation is following him.
Told you, Jay.
No.
The NFL's MVP calls an MVP voter a bum. It's in 20 minutes. But coming up, Kyrie got a late start on the season while someone else that I just mentioned got an early exit to his after Jay has this from Goodyear.
It's our favorite time of the year as we're traveling the road of college football bowl season. And Goodyear knows the passion and excitement